But when I came through these doors, I saw all these people there. I figured, well, I guess I'll have to stay here for good, probably, because all these people, what are they doing here? And nobody was happy. You don't know what's going to happen.
I had a coat and a dress and a pair of shoes. That's it.
One suitcase I had with me. And about $50, I guess.
My basket. My little basket, that's all I had with me. You were lucky to have the one.
We had no other possessions but that. We had no baggage. We had nothing.
Nothing, except the clothes. We had nothing.
Clinging to their possessions, they entered the great building and climbed the stairs.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph, I says, where am I?
They would come right into the big hall, and there they were told to sit and stay there. And they didn't know where they were. It was a new land, but they haven't been in land. It was just a big hall. And all you could get was tears and crying of the children.
For the vast majority, the process would last less than a day. But now they waited. Those from Europe and the Near East, with those who had arrived from the Caribbean. Those who were the first in their family to come to America, with those who would be met. Those who came to make money and return, with those who were determined never to return.
So they all had this fear, this worry. They were worried about police because they were always checked in the other countries.
The word government frightened me. Government was tyranny. Government was officers who looked at you with a sense that they wanted to hate you or eliminate you. And the idea that there is democracy or that the policeman will help you was very new to me. As a policeman, to me, was someone who could cut my head off.
It was the most dangerous thing for everybody to go through it. The ice.
Trachoma, the dreaded disease of the immigrant, the diagnosis for which could lead to almost certain deportation.
If there's anything that put a chalk mark here, chalk mark there.
Those identified to be set aside for possible rejection represented a small percentage examined each day. But this was little consolation to a family separated.
You didn't have to know the people, but you know that somebody's missing. The agony they went through. So you know that somebody's missing in the family.
All of a sudden, the thought, my goodness, they're separating us. Because that's what the police always did. They separated the men from the women and then took care of the women and children. As long as some member of the family, some loving member of the family was with you, life was tolerable. You lived in a relationship of family love. Even though the other members of the family, you didn't know where they were, You could converse, you could plan, you could warm each other.
I had a feeling that I'm left all alone. It's a terrible feeling. All of a sudden they were gone.
America did not want the burden of an unhealthy immigrant. America wanted a person who could make a living and was not bringing into the country an infectious disease.
And they looked your back going with your lungs and your heart and everything. And you were sent from one to the other, one doctor to the other.
And a lot of people was put away on the side.
I wouldn't want to have been sent back.
People were rejected because they showed outward signs of illness, what they considered mental difficulties. We didn't call it psychiatry, they called it neurology. And we said, we're sorry. And the ship that brought them had to take them back. That was a tragedy.
I decided that if they ever have to send me back, I'll jump down to the water and never go back to Russia. I never want to see it again.
Built for 1,500, the dining room often fed 3,000.
There would be dishes and forks and knives and white napkin, long tables, well set, but when the people went in, it was like chaos. And they handed us food. Food was not something people gave you. I didn't like it, but then I tasted it again. But I never had seen a banana before.
To me, this white bread was like cake already.
At night, Ellis served as a dormitory for thousands, waiting the new day. Each morning, the great hall would fill, and the noise would begin again. Hopefully, their papers were in order, a clean bill of health, a letter from a relative guaranteeing they would not become a public charge, proof that they were not a contract laborer or a dangerous alien. In adjacent rooms, the detained were given additional scrutiny and an opportunity to make their case. But accepting an appeal to Washington, the Board of Inquiry was the rejected immigrants' last chance. Through an interpreter, they did their best to persuade him to overcome the complexities of a changing immigration law. But it was in the Great Hall where the vast majority faced their first and their last test. In his hand, the man at the registry desk held the ship's manifest. In his power, the right to interpret questions intended to identify those who should be let in or kept out.
They know a word of English.
I couldn't understand English, not one word.
First question, how much money have you got?
She had to have £5. My father, I remember, gave me that £5.
Do you know how long? It took a couple of years, 2 and 3 years, to get that $25.
My mother, when we got nearer and the person at the desk called our names, my mother turned to me, she says, I was never here. How does she know my name? I said, so right, Mom. She knows it.
They asked me my name, and I told them Licht. And they say, how do you spell it? Well, I didn't know how to spell it, and they didn't know it, and they spelled it L-I-C-H-T. I said, it's all right for me. I don't know the difference.
But then they said, all right, you can go.
You're free to go.
To Hoboken. Yeah.
There would still be questions of what food to buy for the railroad trip to Chicago and the boat trip to Boston. There was still the strange names, the strange numbers, and the fear of losing one's money. There was the process of buying a ticket to places with unpronounceable names like Pittsburgh, Hamtramck, and Keokuk. But those were details. The island had passed them through. The door to America had opened.
It was as if God's great promise had been fulfilled.
I'm going into a free land. I don't think I ever can explain that feeling that I had that time. There isn't such a thing to be explained. It came out of my system. It's over.
It's not my native land, but it means more to me than my native land. It means more to me than my native land.
Any country on earth that this never happened. And become a human being again. It's a miracle.
I'm glad I'm here. Couldn't be any better, could it?
And everybody had hopes. And one thing I was sure, and thousands like me, that the degradation, the abuse, and the privation that we had in Europe, we wouldn't have here.
Oh, God, yes. Hoping for centuries.